Okay, folks, I'll make it past 2 o'clock, so I think people have started to slow down coming into the meeting, so I'll start the session now. Welcome along to another one of the A2K webcasts. This one's on Infraworks, the couple of different flavors that are involved these days with Infraworks. We're recording this session, and I'll show you later on where we can where you can access those records, those recorded sessions. All right, so let's launch into this now. That's me. For those who haven't met me, I've seen a few names of the people who have signed in here to the session. Some few names I recognise there, so hi to you guys and hi to everybody else that doesn't know me yet. Yep, that's me, ex-roading engineer, ex-structural engineer and ex-outdoor instructor. And yeah, I travel around the place teaching as well, Civil 3D mostly. So this session, we're going to look at Infraworks. Now there's two versions of Infraworks 2016. The first one is what they call LT, Infraworks Lite. That's the version that comes in the design suite. So if you've got the infrastructure design suite, you're going to have Infraworks LT already. That basically allows you to build up a 3D model as a sketch pad, and you can start sketching alternative designs and proposals. So we're going to have a look at that as we go. We're also going to look at the new version of Infraworks 360. Now, Infraworks 360 is the rental version, so you pay as you go per year to be able to use that. It's got everything that Infraworks LT has in it, but it also has a lot of design tools being built into it, and that's ongoing progression of Autodesk developing those design tools at the moment. And the newest ones of those come out as technology previews first. So it's got the new design tools in a beta format, if you like, that are in there, and I'll show those to you. And specifically, we're going to look at two of those as we go. So that's 360. Now, if you want the latest version of Infraworks 360, it's downloadable from the Autodesk account. So let's grab a pen. So Autodesk Your Account, or Autodesk account, if you log into that. On the web, just Google for Autodesk account, you'll get it, you'll find it. Log yourself in, and you're looking for the Autodesk Infraworks 360, the 2016 version. And this is the one here that you want, and use the browser downloads, most successful usually most of the time. Now, as of about 3 or 4 weeks ago, probably 3 weeks ago, they released a new version, R1. So it's 2016 R1. When you actually load it up, you'll see in the version of the software, it'll be 2016.2. But that relates to R1. So as long as when you hit the browser download, it's showing an R1 in the name of the download, then you've got the most recent one. And that's the one I'm going to be showing you the two new technology previews for. So this session's going to be broken into two halves. Basically, I figured there's more than likely we're going to have two different groups of people that are joining into this session. One will be people who have the LT version and just want to see, may have never used it before, want to see how you start building up a 3D model. And in the second half, we'll cater to the group of people who are more interested in the 360 stuff. So we'll look at the two new technology previews, and specifically looking at what's called component roads, and then what you can do with the vehicle simulation that's been built in this latest R1 release. So that's the general plan for the next little while. So if you're interested in just the 360 stuff, I'll see you back here in about half an hour, or a bit less than half an hour, and then we'll start looking at that stuff then. But first, we're going to take a look at the LT and the basics of Infraworks first. So This is a little indication of what you can get with the vehicle simulation, and this is actually the model we're going to be looking at later on. So we should start a demo then, I guess. So launching straight into it. Oh, by the way, there's a little chat and questions. Probably actually the questions is what you want. In the GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll find there is a questions box. You can type in questions there. Jay and Chris from the Auckland office are both tuned in, and they will be able to answer questions as you type them in, if they are able to. And there's probably a couple of guys, and I think there is in Australia as well, tuned in, who should be able to answer questions as we go at the same time. So please feel free to type those in as we go. All right, so let's make that nice and big. All right, Infraworks. This is actually the 360 version, but for the moment, I'll just show you the LT tools. So the biggest difference between the two is down here we have these technology previews on the right. So these are the extra stuff that is going into the 360 version, plus this design stuff up the top is in the 360 as well. So if you've got just the LT version in the suites, you're not going to have that stuff on the right. What I will show you though, we're going to be going through just the basics, I guess, of LT. That's all we're going to have time for in this session, but I have done a number of other webcasts on Infraworks before, and I'll just show you where you can find those. So if I just start up my browser here, just make sure that you guys can see that. Okay, and if we just put in A2K Tech, you'll get to the A2K Technologies website. And in here, under events, there's a thing called the Webinar Vault. If you go into that, up the top there, scroll on down. These are all the recorded webcasts that we've done over the last few years. And one of the ones down here in this first group is there. Infrastructure Design Suite and Infraworks 360. That's one of mine. But the rest of the Infraworks and Civil 3D ones, if you scroll right down to the bottom of the list, there is in the engineering group, there's a whole bunch more. Largely Civil 3D stuff, but there's also some Infraworks ones like here, Autodesk Infraworks 2014. That's one I did a while ago, but still a goodie, so that takes you further than what we're going to be doing, be able to do today. So do have a look at those if you want to go a little bit further with it. There's also this group up here called Blast from the Past, which is a whole bunch of my old ones from about 2009 onwards. Yeah, 2009 to 2013, that people have found useful. So do go and have a look at those. There might be an Infraworks one in there too, I think, an older one. Okay, so that's where you go find those. And this one that I'm recording now, this session that you're watching, will be posted up in there in a couple of days' time. All right, so let's go. Normally you would click on up the top here, go new, and just give your model a name. It takes a couple of minutes to do that, so I've just pre-made a blank one here, which I've called demo. All right, so when you start up a new model, this is what you get. Now what you want to do is, in the LT version, you're not going to have the three circular symbols that are brown, purple, and green. You're just going to have this red eye. Those are the design tools that you get in the 360 version. However, you click on the eye and click on this cube symbol here, and you'll get data sources. Now that's the one you want to click on to bring up the data panel on the right-hand side. All right. That is how you add information to your model. So the idea about building these models is it's quick because it uses pre-existing GIS data to do it. So we want to add some data, and the first thing we normally want to do is bring in a ground surface, which is land XML is often the best way to do it. You can bring it into a DEM, which is a raster file format, but with digital elevation model as a DEM. more often than not land XML. And if you don't have a land XML, you can take a surface, build it in Civil 3D, and export it as a land XML. In this case, this is one that's been has not come through from Civil 3D. This one is, now remember where it's gone. Where did we put it? Here it is. In this data set, Infraworks and data. Okay, so the surface itself is in the LiDAR folder. So this is land XML. Here we go. We open that one. It says connecting to the data source. Once it's done that, and it might take a couple of minutes to do that. Well, no, it won't be a couple of minutes, it'll be a few seconds. We will need to configure it. Every piece of data that you read into Infraworks needs to be told what it is. So it's computing a bounding box at the moment. So we're going to need to tell it what coordinate system it's in probably. This one is from Shrewsbury in the UK. So we need to go and tell it what part of the world it is so it can do shadow casting and that sort of thing accurately to its location in the world. Okay, so let's read that one in. It's a reasonably large surface, this one. You can see on the right it says it's not configured, so you double click on that or right click and configure it. And we can go and tell it what it is. So it knows it's a terrain already. It has to be if it's a land XML. Geolocation, it needs to know the coordinate system. So I can click on this little yellow exclamation mark. Any exclamation marks you see in here mean that needs attending to before it can be configured. And we go and have a look at, I think it's under Great Britain. Yeah, there it is. And it's the British National Grid, this particular one. So that's a coordinate system. There's no more exclamation marks, so we can go close and refresh down the bottom, and it will put it in at its correct location. Now this thing works by, it doesn't work on using DWG files. It's constructing a database in the background. So every time you put something in here, it takes a few moments just to get that generated. So that's what it's doing at the moment. As I say, it does take a few moments. This is a fairly large surface, this particular one. We're going to cut it down in a moment to a bit smaller, but it does have to come in completely to begin with. Here it comes. Being a database in the background means you're actually using gaming engine technology. So you can see I can rotate and move this very, very fast and quickly and easily on my machine. It doesn't tax the machines nearly as much as what AutoCAD or a DWG file would. So we've got a nice surface there. Okay, next thing I want to do is bring in an aerial photograph. So let's bring in, it's a raster file format from the data sources on the right. And go up into there, and it's under aerial photos. And I've got some, I'll shift select all of them, tiled photographs there. We just bring them all in. So that's photographs like you'd get from a GIS system. They're tiled and they're georeferenced. So it says it's not configured again. We need to double click on the aerial photos on the right, give that the coordinate system. Now, because I've used it before, we can grab the British National Grid from the drop down. It knows it's ground imagery, and that's all good. We go close and refresh. And it will put those images, drape them on the terrain for us. And I think we'll find, yep, there's only a small area of the surface that actually has images on it. Now the images are, again, because it's gaming technology, as detailed as the images actually are in the raster format as you zoom in and zoom out. So they're not cut down in any way. That's full resolution of those images. Try not to move around too much for you guys because your screens will lag being with the internet connection, but let's go with that. All right, now what I'm going to do is set the model extents to just that area so we don't have to deal with all the rest of the surface. So I'm going to click on the settings and utilities on the right here. Go to, I've got to get the right one, I think it's model properties. Yeah, here we go. Model properties on the left. And we can define interactively an extent. So I'm going to go bounding box. Untick use entire model. Click on, well, we can go bounding box or we can go polygon. Let's go polygon. And I'm just going to select the area that I want my model to extend or be within. Double click when I'm finished. And that's looking good. And we go OK. Regenerate the model. And now we've only got the model in that area. But you can see that the photograph, if we get our eyeball down by it, is draped on the terrain. Just let your screen catch up a bit. There you go, now you've got the same as me. So you should be able to see there's the terrain in front of us there. All right, so that's those two bits. The next piece of data we probably want is road centre lines. So this is coming just from an SQLite data source. So it's a different file format, a bit like a shapefile, except can be quite a lot larger. So it's under there, under GIS data. Here's our centerlines SQLite file format. And now that's also been read in on the right here. I can right-click configure or double-click on it to configure it. And we need to tell these that these are roads. We can give it a default style for the roads to use, which I'm going to use that one, Shrewsbury. Geolocation, it already knows from that file that it's the British National Grid. We want to drape it on the terrain and clip to model extents. That's all we should need to do. We're going to close and refresh. And it puts those roads on there. Now these are from just centerline data for each road. You can see your screen's just catching up. And if we go and have a look at these roads, we will see that change my height a bit. They are in fact 3D roads. They've got curbs and things all on them already, and they're interactive. So if I pick one of them, I can edit. I can yank that one off, pull it back, and it will disengage and tidy up that intersection. Or I can grab it. I can say I want the intersection to be here, snap it to the centre line of another road, and they re-engage. So likewise, you can make lots of changes. You probably don't really want to make that change because it's moved the road, but that'll be fine. Or make your own new roads and things like that to put in your own design proposals. Now, we've only got the buildings on the ground surface at the moment, they're part of the aerial photograph. What we really want to do is get another piece of data. So from the data source on the right again, we're going to read in, this time it's a shape, what is it, a shape file? No, it's an SDF file, which is again a little bit like a shape file. It's the Autodesk GIS data format. This one are building outlines. So building outlines and road centre lines is data that most councils will be able to give to you as a shapefile pretty easily, or any other file format, and you should be able to read that in. I'm going to configure that one too. Now we're going to tell it these are buildings. We're going to the actual file itself has some extra data. It has the number of stories there for each building. So for the roof height, I'm going to set that as the number of stories. I can multiply it times by 2.5 meters. So take the number of stories, multiply it by 2.5, and that's going to be the height of the roof. So that should be good. For the buildings, we want to put a brick style on them. For the UK, that's probably not bad. Roof material can be a random colour, that looks pretty good. Geolocation knows it's a British national grid again. We want to drape it on the surface, and we want to convert closed polylines to polygons, probably clip to model extent as well. The other ones are all okay, so go close and refresh. Now we should see, there we go. Oh, what we didn't do with those, and we'll go and do it, is give them a roof slope. So they're okay like that, but it's nice to give them a roof slope when there's lots of residential buildings like that. So we can just go and reconfigure any of the ones we've done. So I'm just going to double click on the buildings we've just brought in and give them a roof slope of, what do I say, 25%, no, maybe 20%. Close and refresh. And that's looking a lot better. So we can now zoom out. We can start moving around our model. Now it's going to be a little bit jumpy running through the web for you guys, but this is actually moving quite smoothly on my machine. This has got a built environment very quickly. If I wasn't having to explain it, it would be a few minutes. And we can go then and start sketching out our own design proposals. And sitting down with interested parties and talking through the concept and what you want to do and objections and everything else for a public sort of consultation process. We've also got a whole bunch of other styles. So if I go back to the first button here on the left at the top, bring up a style palette, we can go and say, well, these buildings aren't very good with those brick facades that we just put on them. Let's go and give them, oops, sorry, not writing, buildings, facades, here we go. Give them something different. So you can just drag and drop these onto each building. If you grab the roof, it'll stick it on the entire building, and pick some that are appropriate to what the actual buildings look like. I think that's the same as the other one. That one onto there, and get something a bit more realistic looking. Well, realistic in terms of what's actually in reality. So we go back up one level. Find some different ones. Marble glass. Here we go. A whole bunch of different styles in here, etc. And maybe a couple we want to leave as brick. All right, so that can be done too. Again, go and have a look at those other webcasts that I've done on Infraworks previously. It shows you a lot more detail in here what you can do. Then we want to start sort of sketching out a bit of a road design, proposed new roading. We're going to eliminate these fields and make some sort of new industrial area out the front here. So that's not very PC, is it? But there you go. So if I go onto the sketch button up here and the red buttons up on the left, bring in some roads. We want to have, what sort of roads we want? Multi-lane highway is probably a bit much. Here we go, grab one of these. Street sidewalks with lamps. And simply snap to the centre line there, run my road in through there, around there. Maybe a diagonal, and pull it back out to here and back onto the centre line of the road there. And when you put it in, it configures that, makes the intersections for you. Well, we're going to have to demolish that house, so I can pick it and just hit the delete key and disappears. And you can see we're getting 3D models of that already. Now you can pretty these up with cars and all sorts of stuff in there. Make more roads, obviously. Just click roads and start sketching some more. And it puts all the intersections and things in there. You can change the elevations on the fly, and it builds up the ground surface to cope with that. put your own Revit buildings and all sorts of stuff in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can make in here for buildings, city furniture, which is cars, street lamps, road signs, all that sort of stuff. There's mass. Actually, let's have a look. There's cars, boats, aeroplanes, people, markers, all sorts of stuff in there. All right. So very, very quickly, that's the start of Infraworks and how it works. How to build it up and how to get a model produced and start sketching it. So this is what the LT version will let you do. Real quick thumbnail sketch. You'll actually do more than that. You can actually go and then produce movies from this. Have a look at my other webcast to show you how to do that. All right, let's move on then. Actually, we'll spend a little bit longer on here. We can sketch some buildings. So new buildings we want to make, and we choose a style for it. And here's, we just start sketching in the bounds or boundary of that building, whatever it happens to be. And it will pop it in there. You can then, once it comes in, hit escape to finish drawing it. You can raise its height. Say it wants to be that big, that many stories, and it'll add in the extra stories for you. You can change its position. You can rotate it around. And if you've got a Revit file, you can actually make an FBX export from Revit and read that straight in, and it comes in really nice. And you can actually go inside the building and turn around and look out the windows and see what the view is going to be, etc. If I pick the building, I can right click and go properties, and we can do things like give it a roof slope. There's roof height, roof slope there of say 10% on something like this, and we'll also give it a roof material. Can be metal ribbed roof, green one. Click on the update on the top right, and that'll update it for us. Hit escape and the colors will come out right. Now these models, this is in a basic format. You see they're quite planar, quite flat. You can actually go into the settings, and I'll turn this down later on, but and the application options down bottom left here, and you can say under the model generation you want the building facade detail to be high. You would normally do this when you're going to make a movie. It will regenerate the model for us, I think. It should do. Model generation, high, go OK. Okay, if it doesn't regenerate straight away, you can use this button over here to regenerate. And it will put the high level of detail on these buildings. Now, you see that when we get it done, they're much more, they've got 3D relief, basically. And makes the movies on this thing much more realistic. Okay, where's our buildings? Over there. There we go, that's much better. Should be able to see that now. That's the high generation. Much more interesting models. Plus, you've also got, there's another button here. This is the one up the top for, looks like a little TV for making movies and things. You've also got things like visual effects. You can change the light intensity, contrast, brightness, etc. But the one we also want to look at is the one called Sun and Sky, just above that on the left. Here's where you can do your shadow casting. Change the time of day. And change the time of year. Now, because everything's been geo-referenced, it knows the sun's location at this point on the Earth, and that's how it's working out its shadow casting. So that's actually really, really useful for new projects. You know, this thing doesn't exist yet. And sitting down and talking with interested parties. Okay, so let me just put my model generation. Normally when I'm just working with it, I don't want to have the full models. It does slow down the visuals a little bit, and it will certainly slow down this webcast. So I'm going to change my model generation back to medium and regenerate the model. All right, so all of that stuff is in the LT version. So it's actually pretty good. The extra things being put into the 360 version is what I want to start looking at now, and we'll be talking about that for the rest of the webcast, is the 360 version. So let's come down and look at that. Okay, let's just put our facades back. Now, as I say, we've done a lot of webcasts before on the 360 version, and it's basically these tools here. You've got some for what they call design roads, the brown button. You can create some bridges, so more realistic looking bridges and things, and get girders constructed and things like that. There's also some drainage features, which looks at putting in drainage on the roads, sizing culverts and things like that. Those I'll let you have a look at in the previous webcast. They've been there for a little while. However, the new things, the two new things that are in there, are under the road. So it's the brown button here, and if I click on the pencil for designing roadways, the first one, and this is new in the R1 version of 2016, is these things called component roads. Now, if I click on component roads, it makes a new type of design road. So let's go and just use the basic one right down the bottom here. There's a whole bunch of highways pre-made up the top here for assembly, 4-lane divided and so on and so forth. But I'm just going to start with the basic component, assembly, 2 lanes. So I'm going to click on that one. You can snap it to any other road, just like any other Infraworks road you're doing. But with the 360 version, you can see now it's putting in design curves. So it's working to, currently it's the AASHTO standards there, which are the American design standards. And we'll bend that one right round. That one, I'll give ourselves some space, shall we? And hook it back into there. End draw. And you can change those curves as you go, or once you get them in, you can change them as well. So that is, oops, move that out of the way. It's not going to let me move that. All right, this thing is called a, what do they call those panels? That'll come to me in a minute. That allows you to change bits and pieces on the road, but it's just because I'm running through the webinar, I can't move it at the moment, so I'm just going to remove that. You can then modify and change these. So if I wanted to change the radius on that corner, I can grab the radius and make it smaller. And when we export this to Civil 3D, those come through as actual complete alignments with curves and everything else correct, which is nice. You've also got this, let's come back, never mind. If you go down into a side-on view, you can then come into here and say you want add a PVI, point vertical intersection, and you can change the elevations of the road that way. But this time we're not just changing the points, we've got vertical curves as well as horizontal curves we can build into there to play around and move these roads around. So that's normal 360 design road functionality. It's been there for a while. But this being a component road, what we can do is zoom in on it. We can right-click on it. Pick it. Right-click on it. Now so we pick this up here. We'll put that panel in a different place. Okay, pick it down here. I just don't want that in the middle of the screen. It's just, no, that doesn't make a difference. Allows me to drag it now. That's good. Okay. Let's get that panel off to the side. When I pick a component road, we can right-click on it and go Insert Components. And it gives us a little runner and says, okay, where do you want to insert and how far? So I'm going to pick there, And I'm going to come out to this point. I'm going to say, okay, well, actually, what I want to insert in there is a new piece of lane. So scroll up here in the little panel, select component panel on the side, and say that I want to, where did it go? Here it is, component assembly lane. Just click on that. Hit escape. Okay, try that again. Insert component there. From there to there, it's going to be a lane. Hit enter this time, that's better, not escape. And it puts a little piece of lane in there. So it's got 2 lanes on that side now instead of 1. We can then pick it again, and change its size. So scroll it down the page a bit. Let's make it longer. And then we can look at putting in other components. So we can say, okay, well, maybe we want, for some of this, we want to have a piece of curb in there. So I'm going to come over here and go insert components. There is a piece of curb up here. Here it is. And, well, let's put it in there, I guess. And we'll stretch it down to somewhere about there. And now we've got a piece of curb in there too, 3-dimensional object. And then I can say, all right, and perhaps over here on the center line, we want to have a, so I'll go insert component again, a barrier of some sort. So we can choose that point on the center line, and we're going to say it wants to be a, what sort of barrier have we got here? Jersey barrier, they call it. Click on that one, go enter, and stretch down the road as far as I want it to be. Oops. Enter, escape. And it's put that in for me there as well, and perhaps a piece of footpath. So we might want some over here. Insert components, and let's put some footpath in there too. So the advantage in being able to do it this way, here's sidewalk they call it, go into there, and we'll drag it all the way down over there somewhere. The advantage in being able to do it this way is that you don't have to make templates for it anymore. Oops, what have I done there? Oh, I put that in the wrong place. Should have gone on the outside. We can go, just delete that component out, and we can put it on the outside. So the advantage is that you don't have to make templates for this, but you can just pick where you want things to occur, and they just get put in. You can start off with one of the other component roads in there. They have other ones. It doesn't have to be the blank 2-lane. But you can see, if we're making this out of templates, it'd be one template in here, a different one there with a curb on it, another one there with 1, 2, 3 lanes plus a curb, another one here with 3 lanes plus a curb plus a barrier. Here we would go down to 2 lanes, no curb, and a barrier. So there's about 6 different templates you'd need in there. But you can see we can start picking it up, moving it around, and adding in these components where we want to. And then we can go back to as we were and start moving it around and adjusting it, and everything moves around and stays dynamic as well. So that's what component roads are. Much, much easier to make adjustments. You can also, see if we can do it, pick that component, and you can look at the material that it's using here, and say, well, let's say we'll do some sort of funky tiling on it. And we should find straight away, oops. There we go, we're getting a nice tiling on our barrier now. And you can make your own, if you've got photographs of a particular texture that you want, you can take a photograph, you can make your own material there and put that in. So, and also likewise the roads and things like that. So those are component roads, and they are a design road type, so that when you export those into Civil 3D, you get the nice curves, the alignment curves, and the profile curves, horizontal profile curves as well. For those who haven't seen that, I'm not going to actually do it, but what we can do when we pick one of these things is go, where'd it go? Let's profile, no, we'll do it the other way. When you go Analyze, on the Analyze tab here, you can bring up Profile View, and if you pick an object, there you go, there's our profile, and there's our green ground surface as it runs around there. And you can actually adjust things in here. So if I wanted to move that IP up, you'll actually see it move. When I hover over it, it actually goes red in the background there in the actual image. I can pick that and I can start moving it around in my long section. You can see it changing in the back there. Or down, let's put it down underground for that one. And let it go there and the model will rebuild underground. So those are 360 tools. Those particular ones you don't get in the LT version, although you can still export surfaces to Civil 3D from the LT version, but you don't get nice curves with the alignments. You just get and you don't get profiles either. You do get alignments, but they're all straight line segments. All right. So I'm going to drop out of this model for the moment and have a look at another model that I've set up ready to use the vehicle simulation, because this is quite good, and we'll spend the rest of the time on that. So the one we want to look at first is this one. Now, in the LT version, you also have a thing called Model Builder, and this was developed by the Model Builder. This is Nelson, or close to where I live, in the top of the South Island in New Zealand. All the information here I did not have. I didn't have any surface, no road data, no building data. But in the 360 version, there is a thing called Model Builder, which goes and grabs this from public data sources. And this whole thing was built up using that, although I've been playing in here and putting in raised motorways and things like that. Just let your screen catch up there, you'll see that. Yeah, down the foreground there. But all these buildings came in from publicly available data sources. Again, go and have a look at the other webcasts I've done to see more about those. Now, where the traffic simulation comes in is in the brown roads button again, top left. The little balance symbol, which is for review and modified roadway designs or analyze them. If you click on that one, you get this traffic simulation button. We've talked about site distance in previous webinars as well. We're looking at traffic simulation. That's the new one. So click on that. Now these are preview technologies, so Autodesks really don't guarantee them for production purposes yet, or production in terms of an actual project. They're still in development, so it's the next stage, if you like, before they put them fully out to production. They might put them in as preview technologies. So what it wants to do is to define first the area that you want to do your traffic simulation in. It will only work on design roads. So all these roads shown in blue are the design roads that I've actually taken these roads that have come from the Model Builder and converted them. There's a right-click menu option to convert them into design roads. So I'm going to sketch an area that I want to do my traffic simulation in, and you can see it's just tracing around an area there. And basically it's going to run traffic from wherever a road crosses that bounding area that I'm doing now, a design road. That's where it's going to start generating vehicles from. And double click to finish. See, it's found 9 valid roads when it made that area. Okay, so once you've done that, it dulls out the rest of the model and only concentrates on the area that is part of the traffic simulation while you're running it. So if we zoom in on that, we've got 2 panels on the right, on the left. we want to run the simulation. So let's click Run Simulation and see what it does. It tells you it requires this model to be published up to the cloud. Now that did take about an hour, almost an hour to do that. So I've done that already. So it's been published to Autodesk 360. It's this button up here to publish. This one looks like a recycle symbol, top left. So I've done that already. And it tells you it's also going to be running that simulation in the cloud. So that's what it's doing right now. And it'll only take a minute or so. Now what it does with the vehicles is each incoming road, each vehicle will know the outgoing road it wants to go to, so it's pathing them through. You can adjust that stuff, and I'll show you where that is. At the moment, now this thing I believe was called Paramix, was the actual software that this is running. And Autodesk have built it into here now. We'll go and have a look in a moment. You can do all sorts of things with the intersections, but for the moment, it's just going to make some default assumptions about the intersections. I think it probably puts stop signs or giveaways on all the intersections. Now it's finished simulating it. It's just downloading it now. So it says fetching animation, loading animation, and we're done. So I'll put it on 1x speed. That's the simulation I want to run, and I'm going to hit the play button. Now what we should see as it starts playing is we start to get vehicles entering the area. Where'd they go? Can't see any at the moment. We can increase time of it. So I'm going to increase time up to 2. Oh, there we go. I can see one there. So go down to 1x. So we've got a little vehicle crawling along the road there. Okay, just let your screens catch up and I'll hit play again. Slow it down to 1x speed and it's going to stop at the intersection, look for cars, then it's going to cross the road. If it's clear, it's going to join onto the other road and so on. I've got another car down this intersection over here. That one must be on a stop sign or something. So stop to wait for the other one to go through. Another car down the bottom here moving through. That one's got right of way. We've got trucks and things turning up now. So it starts running through. And if we increase the speed to 10 times, we're going to get vehicles going all over the place. And we're going to start getting bottlenecks because it doesn't have good rules on the intersections. So you're getting a bit of a bottleneck going up there. Those cars are still moving, but, and they're going around that corner, which they shouldn't be. So how do we control that? Let's pause that. If you pick within your area, right click on it and you go for a new traffic analyst, asset card. Oh, these are asset cards, that's what they're called. Of course they are. Traffic analyst panel is what we're looking for. It needs to have an internet connection to do this. And it gives us advanced parameters. We can go and start using the Paramix, I believe it was Paramix software, to control the area. So here's our little roads. On one of these intersections, for instance, let's look at this one. Double click within the area, right click and go adjust. Zoom in a bit in the background here. Okay, so it's got the various roads and you can see it's got stop signs on that particular road, Russell Street. It's a little bit bigger, and Russell Street can go that way as well. It knows these are one way because I made them so in Infraworks, so it doesn't try and turn into those roads. So we got a stop sign. I'm going to change that to a giveaway. That's a giveaway. Now this one here, that turn I want as free flow because it's coming from one-way street anyhow. And that one there wants to be on a giveaway. That one there, stop sign. Now let's just make a giveaway. That is actually what it is in reality. That way, free flow. And that way wants to be giveaway as well. Okay. You can also control, if that's all making sense. If there's any that are not turning in the correct direction, you can use this button up here. And you could say, actually, that's not on, sorry, for that particular approach, you're not allowed to turn that way. You can only go straight ahead or to the left. And you can close that one. That's correct anyway. All right, so we apply all those. We'll go OK. I think that does the same thing. We close that. The network has been modified. Do we want to save changes? Yes, we do. It syncs it with the cloud. Now I'll show you an example in a moment of one I've done. You can actually put traffic lights into there as well. Okay, we need to rerun the simulation. Says it's going to overwrite any previous simulations. Okay, fine. So what we've done is adjusted this intersection here. I may not have got 100% right, but we'll see what we do when we run this next simulation. And we should find that these cars don't queue up here. They just go straight through, and we should get a better run on the main road there. So it makes those assumptions to begin with. And then you will need to go and have a look at each intersection. So you don't necessarily want a huge model. Yeah, that's simulated. We're fetching it now. Okay, let's go and play it. Okay, let's go 2 times playing. And let's see what this intersection's doing. Car's going straight through just fine. There's another car. Oh, here comes one. So that one should go straight through the intersection, and it does without stopping. So that's now clear, and the other ones are on giveaway signs. I'm not getting much coming down the hill at the moment. But that's how you go and change the basics of those things. At the moment, the vehicles do pass from one side of the study area to the other. I've had a look. There wasn't a facility. That one should let them go. Oh, just that was close. Should go and I wanted to try and see if I could put parking areas in the middle of the area. I don't think you can do that yet. But as I say, this is a preview, so we may be getting those things later on. We'll see how we go. That would be nice to have vehicles coming into town and parking. Be able to simulate that rather than just passing through an area as well. So let's pause that one. I don't know how well that's coming through on the internet for you guys, but hopefully it's okay. You should be able to see it in the recorded session when you come and have a look at it later on anyway, if it's not coming through properly. All right, so I'm going to turn that off, that traffic simulation, and go back to the normal view. I've got a model here set up where I had those traffic lights running. So it's Nelson Town 2, that one. Let me show you just quickly how that's set up. All right, so here is our model, same one. I've just made a copy of it. Put a few more trees in the middle of the road and things like that. What I've done is this intersection here, I put some traffic lights in. So we can start the traffic simulation again. Now this has remembered what I did last time. So when you open up a model, it remembers what you had last time. Just let your screens catch up. Cool. And I will run the simulation. We should see, when we run this one, that this intersection down the bottom, the small one on the left, the cars behave as if there's traffic lights there now. So we've got this one, I've got actually quite a lot of cars coming down the hill here. And you can change the number of vehicles entering the model, the frequency that they come in, etc., for particular roads. Now that one should stop. Yep, And these ones stop now for the traffic lights, and that one will go. And then this one. Now at the moment I think I've just got even phasing times on those traffic lights, so we should find these ones down the bottom here go in a moment. Eventually. Some cars sneaking through. I've got this running at 2 times speed as well. There we go. Now the traffic lights changed and these ones are allowed to go. So my phasing is not good with those traffic lights. We're making quite a traffic build up there. What you can also do is give the resultant traffic volumes, turn the traffic volumes on. So you can see how long your queues actually are. And if you hover over that, average delay 45 seconds. This one here, average delay 60 seconds. That one there, 64 seconds. So I think anything over a minute, it highlights as red. This one here, there shouldn't be hardly any delays, 4-second delay. And there shouldn't be a delay there because that's the straight through and everything else should be able to be giving way to that one. Let's show you how this is set up. So again, I went into that traffic analyst panel. You can also use this to block off streets. So you get the model running and working as per normal, and you can say, okay, what happens if I close turning into this particular road? What effect does it have on the traffic queues, etc.? So it can be used for road closures as well. All right, it's this one here is what we're looking at. Just that. So this particular one, I'll move that out the way. Over there. We change it so that it's using the control of the traffic lights. And then when you do that, it's because I've ticked on over here to use phases. You get some groups of vehicles. So we've actually got 2 groups, one from this road and one from this road, where the traffic lights are controlling. And then there's the phasing that says in the phase A, group 1 is green, so it's green on that road. So I can actually highlight that line, it shows you what it is, that's green. And in phase B, that's green. So it's green for group 2 in that particular instance for that phase. You've also got timing here. So currently I've got 51 seconds on each phase. But we could change those and make one longer than the other, etc. So that's how it's set up. In the same way as the other one, you've got the as normal intersection. You've got the directions that each approach is allowed to use. Let's move those out of the way. So that's from that one, can go straight through that way or around the corner. All right, and that is the basics. We've just about run out of time there. Of how it works. Now, I've just taught myself how to use it. And there's a few help files in there. There's some stuff on the internet as well that show you on YouTube that show you how to set it up. And of course, for a bit more realism, we can go and throw in some traffic lights as street furniture in here, and show you've actually got traffic lights and things there, and make it look a bit more realistic as well. So I make that about 1 minute to go to the end of the session. So let's have a quick look at questions and see if there's any here that have not been answered, that need answering. Can you bring in recap photo models? You can bring in a recap point cloud, but it only shows as a point cloud. You don't get the photographs with recap, not at this stage anyway. It would depend on the type of model that you're wanting to bring in. Are you thinking about a building or a ground surface? I'm not sure. Perhaps we could take that offline later on if you write in a support request to support@a2ktechnologies.co.nz or .com.au. That will get through to our support system, and one of us can answer that and go look at exactly what you're wanting there. Let me see if I can stretch this out a bit. It's not. Oh, there we go. Hang on, just pull that off. What else we got? Okay, so are Autodesk currently working on more high-tech / complex road systems? Again, I'm not sure how complex you're talking about. If you're talking about elevated roads and roadways and things like that, yeah, there's a lot of people trying to do that. They're not currently supported as officially as elevated roads, but they are being used for that. So there is more work being done on that as part of the development. This whole thing's being developed. There's a lot of work going into it still. And so we're seeing each release, we're getting more and more developed. I don't know if you're using the 360 version, you'll probably find that it's actually better than the LT version at the moment for handling, these types of roads that, let's get that out of the way, that diverge very gradually and those sorts of things. Current workflows from MX, Genio file through Civil 3D. There's a question there about Genio files going through to Civil 3D, but that doesn't create proper roads as if I was designing a Civil 3D. I assume that's talking about the alignments that you're getting through and taking them into Infraworks here, which would be how these roads come in. We'd need to have a look at that to see what exactly you're getting to find best workflow. So if you can send through that to the support, we can have a look at that and find the best way to do it. Certainly there's another question. Yeah, there's some more detailed questions here that's probably better to take offline because that's going to depend on the model you're trying to use. We'd have to have a look at that. And we can certainly have Autodesk have a look at it too. Here we go. That would be recap photos of buildings. So this is the question that was asked earlier on. Can you bring in recap photo models? That would be recap photos of buildings. No, it's only going to bring through the point cloud. So if the point cloud was dense enough, you might be able to see it reasonably well. But the photographs, no, it wouldn't bring in. What you would tend to do with that, if you wanted the photographs of actual buildings, you can actually take one of these buildings here and you can put a material on one or multiple faces. So you could take a photo of the front of a building, sketch the shape of the building that you wanted, and then just put the photograph over the one face or two faces or three faces, whatever photographs you have, and then you'll get the photograph of the building. But no, if you actually want a 3D captured or 3D model of it, either through Revit or these days you can also bring in SketchUp Collada models. So that can be done too. So if you've got a SketchUp model of it, you can bring your photographs onto fairly quickly in SketchUp, and those can be brought in, and that would be probably the easiest way of doing it to get an actual realistic building model. All right, so we've pretty much ended up finishing our time here for the session. Thank you for tuning in. As I say, this has been recorded, so we will put it on the website and on the A2K website probably in 2 or 3 days, probably, well, should be there by next week anyhow. And thank you and have a good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in.